A joyful evening, celebrating free speech and the First Amendment with all of you, members of the press.
Celebrating free speech.
Breaking news right now, the First Lady, Melania Trump, apparently calling on ABC to fire Jimmy Kimmel.
Oh, we're doing this again, are we? You see, here's a tale of two comments made minutes apart. The first comes from Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt discussing how the White House Correspondents' Dinner was an event to celebrate free speech.
A joyful evening, celebrating free speech and the First Amendment with all of you, members of the press. Instead, the night was hijacked by a crazed anti-Trump individual who traveled across the country to assassinate the president and as many administration officials as possible. This is the third major assassination attempt against President Trump in 2 years. No other president in history has faced such repeated, serious attempts on his life.
And here's the same person going after Jimmy Kimmel, who the First Lady and the President just demanded be taken off the air for a joke that he made on his show, which they didn't like.
For example, as the First Lady of the United States pointed out this morning, just 2 days prior to the shooting, ABC's late-night host Jimmy Kimmel disgustingly called First Lady Melania Trump an expectant widow. Who in their right minds says a wife would be glowing over the potential murder of her beloved husband? And having experienced what I did with the First Lady on Saturday night, I can tell you that she was anything but that. This kind of rhetoric about the president, the First Lady, and his supporters is completely deranged, and it's unbelievable that the American people are consuming it night after night after night.
You see, Trump and his most staunch followers claim to be the free speech warriors, the bastions of masculinity, tearing cancel culture apart one Bud Light can at a time, but they're increasingly calling for people to be fired or taken off the air when they don't like the comments or the remarks that they've made. After a seemingly controversial joke by late night host Jimmy Kimmel, First Lady Melania took to Twitter to voice her disdain, not just criticizing the comment, but she demanded action. Take a stand, were her words.
Breaking news right now, the First Lady, Melania Trump, apparently calling on ABC to fire Jimmy Kimmel. This appears to be in response to a segment that Kimmel aired days before the White House Correspondents' Dinner. In that segment, Kimmel said the First Lady had the glow of a, quote, expectant widow. And now we have this response. The First Lady writing on X the following, quote, Kimmel's hateful and violent rhetoric is intended to divide our country. His monologue about my family is not comedy. His words are corrosive and deepens the political sickness within America. It is time for ABC to take a stand. How many times will ABC's leadership enable Kimmel's atrocious behavior at the expense of our community, end quote. For the second time now in the past 2 weeks, the First Lady taking a public stand. A few weeks back, she made a statement asserting that the rumors about Jeffrey Epstein and connections to her were baseless. And now we have this response to Jimmy Kimmel. Just in.
And of course, she wasn't alone. She was echoed by her husband, who has on several occasions in the past called for networks to lose licenses, and especially went after Kimmel. He stated, quote, wow, Jimmy Kimmel, who is in no way funny as attested to by his terrible television ratings, made a statement on his show that is really shocking. He showed a fake video of the First Lady and her son Barron like they were actually sitting in his studio listening to him speak, which they weren't and never would be. He then stated, quote, our First Lady Melania is here. Look at Melania, so beautiful. Mrs. Trump, you have a glow like an expectant widow. A day later, a lunatic tried entering the ballroom of the White House Correspondents' Dinner, loaded up with a shotgun, handgun, and many knives. He was there for a very obvious and sinister reason. I appreciate that so many people are incensed by Kimmel's despicable call to violence and normally would not be responsive to anything, but this is something far beyond the pale. Jimmy Kimmel should be immediately fired by Disney and ABC. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Yeah, they wouldn't be responsive to Kimmel's comments, right? That's coming from the same man that has called for him to be fired now 3 times.
Live from the Trump Kimmel Center in Washington, D.C., it's the All-American White House Correspondents' Dinner. Here's your host for the night, Jimmy Kimmel.
Thank you. That's very kind of him. Welcome to the 2026 White House Correspondents' Dinner. Look at you all dressed up in formal wear, dresses, tuxedos. I haven't seen this much black since every page of the Trump Epstein files. We're going to have fun tonight. And I'm happy you decided to stay, Mr. President. And don't worry, if we bruise your ego, it'll only make your hands look less disgusting. Now, the president didn't want me to tell any jokes about him tonight, but he also didn't want to pay me $130,000 to shut up. So here we are. I get why you think you're Jesus. This guy, every time he walks into a room, people say, Christ, he's back. As the president will tell you repeatedly until you beg him to stop, President Trump has accomplished so much during his second term. He passed new incentives for oil and gas. He put the brakes on solar and wind. That will be your legacy, sir. Breaking wind and passing gas. I do have to ask, though, why do you hate windmills so much? Is it because they can still get turned on by being blown? Our First Lady Melania is here. Look at Melania, so beautiful. Mrs. Trump, you have a glow like an expectant widow.
Trump on numerous occasions has threatened legal action against journalists and comedians and hosts that he doesn't like. He's even suggested jail time for reporters and pushed for critics to be removed from platforms, as well as accusing other politicians of sedition that should be punishable by death. You see, that's not just criticism either, that's pressure on media, as clear an attack on free speech as you can get, all while Trump acts like he's the beacon of civility, because Trump and his allies framed the Kimmel comments as corrosive, dangerous, and encouraging harmful rhetoric. But they have no problem that just a few weeks earlier, Trump himself responded to the death of former FBI Director Robert Mueller by posting, quote, "Good, I'm glad he's dead." Unless you have a further 2 hours on your hand, we can only feature maybe 1% of the times that he's called for violence at his rallies.
My fellow Americans, mob violence goes against everything I believe in and everything our movement stands for. More violence, more violence. Knock the crap out of him, would you? I will pay for the legal fees.
And this guy started screaming. Maybe he should have been roughed up.
I love the old days. You know what they used to do to guys like that? They'd be carried out on a stretcher, folks. Like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you.
President Trump tweeting, "When the looting starts, the shooting starts."
Try not to hurt him. If you do, I'll defend you in court. If I say don't hurt him, then the press says, well, Trump isn't as tough as he used to be. We had some people, some rough guys like we have right in here, and they started punching back. It was a beautiful thing. I mean, I would have been boom, 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 I'll beat that. But you also had people that were very fine people.
Well, I'm carrying a pistol. I go to the gym all the time. I'm trying to make myself more capable of violence.
Well, on both sides. I don't know if I'll do the fighting myself or if other people will. Like when you guys put somebody in the car and you're protecting their head, I said, you can take the hand away, okay? Proud Boys, stand back and stand by.
A Republican congressional candidate charged with body slamming a reporter.
Any guy that can do a body slam, he's my guy. This is an invasion. How do you stop these people? You can't. There's no... That's only in the panhandle you can get away with that stuff. Our country is under siege. We're going to the Capitol to make your voices heard, and you have to get your people to fight.
There is a consistent pattern here. Condemn crude or offensive remarks from opponents while using equally or more extreme rhetoric directly towards said opponents. And when we're talking about extreme rhetoric, again, do we know who we are talking about here? How many times has Donald Trump mocked or celebrated deaths of critics? But the key issue here is free speech, right? It doesn't mean only speech that you agree with is allowed, especially when it's coming from the same anti-free speech warriors that excuse the endless list of crude remarks that have come from this president.
Yeah, and you have, as many of your fellow Democrats, have used some heated rhetoric against the president. And do you think twice about that when something like this happens?
What rhetoric do you have in mind?
Just talking about some of the fact that he, is terrible for this country and so on and so forth. I understand that that's your democratic right, but overall, do you
I have
a
no
responsibility?
personal problem with Donald Trump at all. I mean, I talk about the policies of this administration, the authoritarianism like we saw on display in Minneapolis, where 2 of our citizens were gunned down in the streets simply for exercising their First Amendment rights. Renee Good, Alex Preddy, and others have, died in custody. I'm talking about policies. I don't personalize it, and I certainly have never called the press the enemy of the people. I think the press are the people's best friend, and that's why it's written right there into the First Amendment. We need the press to be a vigilant watchdog against every level of government, federal, state, local, all of it.
You're not going to get an argument from me on that. Before I let you go.
And I'm not talking about people who disagree with Kimmel calling for him to be fired. Go ahead. But when it's the president, the highest office, I mean, just for a second, imagine that Barack Obama called for Jesse Walters or Sean Hannity to be fired. I can guarantee there would be a neckbeard-filled protest somewhere if that was to have happened. Speech exists even when it's offensive, but a president and his first lady calling for hosts to be fired, networks to be punished, and critics to be removed moves away from that very principle in places as where? In authoritarian territory. Because when does it end, right? It starts with crude or even bad jokes, then it's dissent, then it's daring to say anything, even if it's about his cankles. There would be no end if this was to be the norm. And no prominent Democrats, nobody on our network here at Meidas is out here celebrating people calling for violence or offering anything other than the most staunch condemnation of anyone who dares to try and perpetuate political violence. But to use that incident and try to shut down one of the most prominent TV hosts because for the reason that, let's be honest, he made fun of you at the Oscars and you have never got over it.
Get rid of Kimmel and perhaps replace him with another washed up but cheap ABC talent, George Slopanopoulos. He would make everybody on stage look bigger, stronger, and more glamorous. Blah, blah, blah. Make America great again. Okay, now, see if you can guess which former president just posted that on Truth. Anyone? No? Well, thank you, President Trump. Thank you for watching. I'm surprised you're still... Isn't it past your jail time? These, by the way, are the ratings for the Oscars over the past 3 years. I hosted in 2023 and 24. And I'm not looking to boast. I just want to say that is not down. And you want to know what down looks like? This is the value of Truth Social stock. Your company, that's down.
That's what authoritarian leaders do, all while claiming to defend free speech, by the way. You see, Republicans and Trump sycophants have no intention of protecting speech. It's all about controlling it. And that is a very, very different thing.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.